I want to start this video by highlighting a comment from RJ Harbison on one of my first videos. RJ wrote, potential idea for a video, but what are some strategies or habits you practice that help you find time to read within the margins of a busy work life rhythm? Also, do you prefer to read your books via paperback or via a Kindle digital book? Do you see any meaningful differences between experiencing a novel physically or digitally? Yeah, so that question really resonated with me because the honest answer is my life exists within a lot of noise and movement. It's not tidy, it's not aesthetic, and it's definitely not optimized. Let's talk about my morning for a minute. During the work week, my mornings start out pretty chaotic. As soon as my alarm goes off, I bolt out of bed. I start yelling at both of my boys to get out of their beds, start getting on their clothes, get their stuff together for the school day. That way they don't miss the bus in the morning. While all this yelling is happening and all the stomping is happening around the house as the kids are getting out of bed and getting ready, my wife is getting ready herself to go teach for the day. And somewhere in the midst of all of this craziness, I'm brewing coffee because that's, well, the most important thing about the morning. I'm getting breakfast made. I'm making sure the dog has her water and her food. And as everyone is finished getting ready, has all their things together, finishing up their food, the bus starts rolling around the corner and the boys bolt out the door and my wife bolts out to get into her car and everybody heads to work. And there is finally this silent, calm, peaceful moment that I have every weekday morning. That is a coveted time for me. It's about 30 minutes to an hour where I have to just decompress. And the way that I decompress is by reading. As I mentioned in one of my first videos, I'm doing a daily reading plan, reading The Wheel of Time in a year. 2 chapters every day is going to get me through this entire series. And so I make sure to dedicate that time in the morning to read my 2 chapters so that I can get it out of the way for the day. And I feel like I've accomplished something already. This time in the morning is a great centering moment for me because I know the rest of the day is going to have all these things that are going to push and pull me in a bunch of different directions. And after I finish my morning reading, I shower, get everything ready, and I head out the door to work myself. Now, something that helps me read consistently is that I always have at least 4 books going at once. But each of those readings serve a different purpose. A long fantasy series that I work through slowly, an audiobook that lives in my car and my headphones, some sort of nonfiction book that I read a little bit more deliberately, and something on the lighter side like a graphic novel or a work of poetry. Right now, that looks like The Wheel of Time in print, the Sun Eater series on audio, a book called Slow Theology as my nonfiction, and the comic series The Sandman. My audiobook time is built into my life. I listen on my commute to and from work, and then again when I get home, and I walk about 30 minutes to an hour every day, and so I'm listening as I'm walking. There are also little pockets of time during my work week where I can read a little bit or I can listen. And there's a couple more hours in the evening when the kids are in bed and when my wife and I have some free time to kind of do the things that we want to do. I commit some of that time to reading. And it's usually about an hour or two, depending on how lost in the sauce I get. So when people ask me how I find time to read all of the things that I'm reading, I just tell them that I don't find time. I make the time. I know my time. I know my schedule. And I am intentional with that. Reading matters to me. And so I give it space. But I try not to let it come at the expense of my responsibilities or the people that I care about. Sometimes that means skipping a TV show or a movie throughout the week. Sometimes that means letting up on my video game time. I've learned that for me and my time, I can enjoy those things a little bit more on the weekend when there's a full day to really structure out the things that I'd like to enjoy. If you love something, you'll find room for it. But I've also learned, sometimes in a hard way, that too much of a good thing can actually be a bad thing. Yes, reading can actually become unhealthy. It can turn into avoidance if we're not careful. That's something that I'm still learning how to manage. As for the second part of RJ's question, digital or physical, I can appreciate both, but for different reasons. My job requires me to be behind a screen most of the day. So when I bought a Kindle Scribe, it was mainly for that paperwhite screen. It's easier on my eyes, especially for some of those small print books, and it allows me to carry most of my library with me. That said, I still prefer physical books when I can. There's something about that tactile experience. The weight, the smell, and the sense of scale. A digital copy just can't replicate that. I remember being a kid in the library growing up and pulling out these big books, just thinking to myself, what kind of story needs this many pages? That mix of intimidation and excitement that just doesn't come with a digital copy. You can see a percentage or a screen count on a screen, but nothing can replace holding a big old honker in your hands. It helps the story to feel real. It was the same feeling I had when opening a brand new CD and placing that CD into my 5 CD changer and taking out the book in the front of the CD and just looking through the lyrics, reading them, and really being intentional with this whole process, looking at the artwork. That analog experience, it just engages your senses differently. Digital is convenient, but physical is immersive. So I navigate between all of these mediums depending on where I'm at or what I'm reading. But I want to throw this question back at you. How do you find the time to read in your own rhythm? Do you prefer physical books, digital books, or a mix of both? I genuinely love to hear your thoughts, and thank you, RJ, for the question.